Lisa's new album concept is the cringiest thing I've seen in a long time, and I've been in K-pop for a very long time.
Oh, you've heard of me? Good. I'm Vixie, the one they love to call the villain. My lashes came to slay, so step out my way. My nails cut deeper than your excuses. I'm busy living in my villain era. Let the haters hate. So
I listened to Lisa's Alter Ego album and I'm still sticking to what I said initially. I feel like she hasn't really found her sound. I think that a lot of the songs that I was hearing, right, reminded me of what I already heard here. There's nothing really new, and it's so interesting because, and okay, I don't know if it's because we put a lot of high hopes and props to her, and that's why the expectations were a little higher, but the album just wasn't hitting as I would have liked.
Previously on K-Express. Lisa's upcoming Coachella performance has the potential to be a career-defining moment, a chance to bring all the elements of her alter ego concept into one cohesive and unforgettable experience. Lisa can use this stage in the same way, not just to perform, but to clarify and amplify her artistic vision. As a natural performer, Lisa has the presence, energy, and stage command to make this an era-defining moment. If executed well, Coachella could be the moment where her alter ego concept finally clicks for audiences, tying together the music, visuals, and storytelling in a way that feels immersive and intentional. The key would be in structuring the performance to highlight the 5 personas through distinct styling, staging, and transitions. This would allow her to show rather than tell, eliminating any confusion about the branding of her album while reinforcing her identity as a multidimensional solo artist. Lisa is undeniably hardworking, passionate, and resilient. Those qualities alone set her apart as an artist, with the potential to continue growing and evolving. Her solo journey is still in its early stages, and Coachella offers a perfect opportunity for her to push forward, reshape perceptions, and prove why she belongs on the global stage.
Lisa 8 was like one of the best Coachellas I've seen. Like,
Y'all, I just finished watching the Lisa Coachella performance for 2025. Listen here. I love Alter Ego. I love the album. But when you hear it live, with the live instrumentation, you hear the guitars, you hear the drums, you see her performing on stage, you see the transition. It is like nothing else I've ever seen. Listen, if you had Alter Ego as one of your top, it goes further with the Coachella. Listen, she had the big transition. She had all kinds of outfits. She was popping, locking, and dropping. Everything about it was great.
Hearing her perform this live allowed me to appreciate the album, if that makes sense. Because before then, I wasn't really feeling the album. I think her album is the kind of album where you literally have to see her perform it. It's the kind of album where you can't really listen to it. Not everyone, but some people. You can't really listen to it and appreciate it as much as when she performs it and everything comes to life. I can see the vision, the visual, all that. And Lisa's a damn performer. Like, I saw the Coachella live stream that YouTube was posting, and I was like, she did her big one, and I was never...
Pretty, but not iconic. One of the biggest missed opportunities in Lisa's alter ego rollout is the complete lack of an iconic look. The other day, my entire TikTok FYP was recreations of Sabrina Carpenter's Fortnite outfits, the baby doll lingerie, the golden curls, that little pop girl wink, instantly recognizable. And that's when it hit me. Lisa doesn't have that. Not one solo-era look that screams, "This is Lisa." No Halloween staple, no cosplay moment, nothing that stamped her era in the public imagination. Think about it. Jenny gave us the red wig, black lace, ballet core leg warmers. Rosé's buns and leather jacket from APT are still a go-to. Even Chappelle Roan has a dozen Halloween-ready looks already. Lisa had all the ingredients, especially with an alter ego concept that literally called for multiple identities. But instead of capitalizing on that, we got fashion that was overcomplicated and undercommitted. It looked nice in photos but lacked staying power. The visuals didn't become iconography. They just became outfits. The signature look should have been part of the promo cycle. Not just the album cover, just one instantly readable look per alter ego. Something fans could cosplay, stylists could reference, and brands could build around. Instead, we got 5 identities and 0 cohesion. And it's frustrating, because Lisa used to be the experimental one. Even Jisoo once said Lisa and Rosé were the ones who actually dressed up, not Jenny, despite her fashion girl rep. Lisa used to give us androgynous silhouettes, layers, edge. Now, it feels like she's prioritizing pretty over iconic. And in pop culture, pretty fades. Iconic sticks. We've seen glimmers of the old Lisa trying to resurface. Leather, chains, boulder cuts. But it rarely lands. The outfit might be cool, but the hair is basic. The makeup doesn't match the mood. The accessories are missing. It's like every look is one step from greatness, but never commits. Lisa should be dominating the high-fashion editorial lane. Her team needs to push her to be a high-fashion girly, not just as a brand ambassador who wears designer, as a fashion force with a distinct point of view. Think archival Mugler, vintage McQueen. Not trend-following, world-building. Jenny's fashion is accessible it girl. Lisa's should be the opposite. Sharp, dramatic, iconoclastic. Celestial warrior energy. Joan of Arc in couture. Because the truth is, it's not enough to love fashion. You have to weaponize it. Lisa's problem isn't taste, it's a follow-through. Even her best stage look, the Victoria's Secret performance, hinted at the kind of visual direction she needs. Meanwhile, her VMA and Global Citizen fits? Forgettable. They wanted to be edgy, but landed as filler. Now compare that to Sabrina Carpenter's tour outfits. They're so branded, Fortnite didn't even need a music video to base them on. They're just that iconic. You see one and think, Sabrina. Lisa could still have that moment, especially with a built-in alter ego concept. It's cosplay gold, Halloween gold. Let me show you how I'd style each persona I created. Before we continue, quick disclaimer. I'm not a stylist, just a girl with a Pinterest board and too many opinions. If you've noticed, I'm pulling inspiration from the alter ego album visuals, plus silhouettes and styles Lisa has gravitated toward in the past. That goes for everything I'm suggesting. My goal isn't to reinvent the wheel, just to elevate the concept and make it more cohesive. I'm sure a team of professionals could take it even further, but here we go. For Sun Lisa, I'd go with rich golds and ivory whites, but styled in a way that subtly nods to Thai heritage without veering into costume territory. Think modern silhouettes with structured elegance. A soft silk wrap top with gilded embroidery, worn with cream trousers, or an asymmetric skirt, paired with gold cuffs or bangles. Imagine traditional Thai textures reimagined through a Schiaparelli lens. Hair should be black and clean. The vibe is goddess. Light makeup, glowing skin. She's warm, she's open, but she's still expensive. Moon Lisa is the most commanding. And honestly, the one that lets her lean into what she does best. Stage power. This is where the metallics, leather, black, and silver come in. Her Joan of Arc meets cyberpunk moment. I'm thinking chainmail crop tops, structured bodices, low-slung silver pants, perhaps an iridescent mesh trench. Her makeup should be sharp, black wing, icy highlighter, maybe even chrome tears or metallic lashes for an editorial twist. Hair? I'd keep it mostly black with bangs for the standard look, but during promo, she could rock a white or platinum wig. Not cotton candy colored, but something cyber regal. Then there's Eclipse Lisa, which is my favorite, and should be hers too. This version wears black and crimson like a whisper that builds into a scream. She doesn't do red dress, although she could if she wanted to. She does red accents, blood-colored boots, a crimson velvet glove, a sharp red cutout under black armor. The textures here are layered and emotional. Leather, velvet, sheer mesh, even silk satins. The silhouette is architectural but raw. Hair should stay black, but with an abstract part or slicked finish. Anything that reads intentional chaos. And the makeup? Smoky, experimental, with a red details. Part of the reason why the alter ego concept didn't quite land is that the personas weren't distinct enough. While 2 or 3 stood out, many blurred together in tone, styling, and mood. A more strategic approach could have made all the difference. For example, assigning a clear color palette or textural theme to each alter ego would have created stronger visual differentiation. Think soft pastels and light fabrics for Sun Lisa to evoke warmth and optimism, deep jewel tones and rich velvets for Roxy to channel boldness and intensity. Layering in aesthetic cues, like I've done in my reimagination, could have helped audiences immediately recognize who was who and what each alter ego represented. Visual clarity creates emotional clarity, and that's what makes concepts stick. Lisa's styling can be so much more than pretty. Her problem right now isn't that she lacks fashion, it's that she doesn't commit to the idea behind the clothes. She has model proportions. She loves fashion. But lately, it feels like she's been dressing well instead of dressing iconically. The difference is depth. Lisa doesn't need another borrowed designer dress with minimal effort. She needs to build a visual vocabulary, one that lets people recognize her silhouette from 10 feet away. One that turns a Pinterest board into a fashion thesis. This is how you create a legacy, not just through talent, but through image architecture. She has the tools. She just needs a team that knows how to use them. The album cover that could have told the whole story. Now let's talk about the album cover. Because as much as I understand the appeal of giving each alter ego their own separate cover, for collectability, sales, fan engagement, whatever, I actually think that approach ended up doing more harm than good. Instead of feeling like one rich, cohesive concept, it came off a little disjointed, jarring even. The visuals didn't feel like they belonged to the same world, let alone the same person. If I were in charge of designing Lisa's album cover, I would have gone with a modernized triptych concept, not just as one unified image, but as a modular system across multiple versions. Think Renaissance-style storytelling, where each panel represents a different facet of the same divine figure. Except here, it's Sun Lisa, Moon Lisa, and Eclipse Lisa. But instead of releasing just one version with Eclipse Lisa in the center, imagine this. Each alter ego gets to take center stage depending on the version you buy. One cover features Eclipse Lisa facing forward, commanding the middle, while Sun and Moon flank her in profile, slightly turned away, still visible, but not the focus. Another version shifts the spotlight to Moon Lisa, placing her in the center, with Sun and Eclipse turned to the side. And a third elevates Sun Lisa, warm and radiant at the front, with the other two turned partially from view. It's one story told from 3 perspectives. Each version is part of a larger visual puzzle. You see all 3 alter egos in every cover, but only one claims the throne in each, which of course turns the album into a collectible experience. Fans can choose the one they identify with most, or collect all 3 to see the full evolution. Not only would that layout be visually stunning, it would also imply that all of these personas exist within the same mythos. They're not costumes she's trying on. They're facets of the same soul. Another way this could have been executed? A modern triptych album cover. 3 distinct panels, each representing one of Lisa's alter egos, Sun, Moon, and Eclipse. Each one functions as its own standalone cover, complete with its own aesthetic and emotional tone. But when you place them side by side, they form a single, interconnected visual narrative. The backgrounds align subtly, the colors transition with intention, and together, they tell a larger story, like a puzzle that only fully reveals itself when complete. It's not just alternate covers, it's a collector's piece, a gallery of personas stitched together into one unified mythos. That's something I think the original rollout missed. The alter egos felt like versions of Lisa rather than expressions of her. With a triptych, the visual storytelling becomes cyclical and symbolic. It's not just 3 outfits, it's a universe. Here are some pictures I found on Pinterest that work as well. In either case, the key is visual unity. Whether it's through color palette, backdrop, or posture, we need to feel that these women know each other, even if they're never quite looking one another in the eye. Concept without character. Why Lisa's alter egos didn't land. In my last video, I touched on how Lisa's alter ego concept could have been powerful if it had come with a clearer story arc. something visual, theatrical, character-driven. And the more I researched, the more obvious it became. Alter egos don't stick because they're introduced. They stick because they're inhabited. Every artist who's done it successfully didn't just slap a name on a wig and call it a persona. They lived in it. They made it specific. They made it felt. Lady Gaga, for example, didn't just introduce Joe Calderone, she became him. Joe walked red carpets, did interviews, accepted awards on Gaga's behalf. He had a voice, a presence, a body language. It was weird, theatrical, borderline method acting. And it worked. Not because it was explained, but because it was embodied. Beyoncé's Sasha Fierce wasn't just stage Beyoncé. She was a vessel, a persona Beyoncé created so she could access parts of herself, sensuality, assertiveness, that didn't come naturally off stage. There's that now iconic video of her flipping a coin to decide who performs that day, her or Sasha. No lengthy exposition, just pure commitment. You could see the switch. And then there's Eminem, whose use of alter egos is one of the most psychologically layered in pop culture. What often gets overlooked is that Eminem himself is already an alter ego, the public persona of Marshall Bruce Mathers III. And then came Slim Shady, the chaotic, unfiltered character who said everything Marshall couldn't. At first, Slim Shady was a release valve, but over time, the persona and the person began to blur. Fame, addiction, and emotional fallout followed. The very alter ego that launched his career nearly destroyed him. In a recent Meta interview, Eminem sits across from a glitched-out, AI-generated Slim Shady, his past literally interrupting his present. It's funny, yes, but also deeply unsettling. Shady mocks him, corrects him, undermines him. It works not because it's clever, but because it's honest. It shows how alter egos aren't just stage gimmicks. They're vessels. They hold the pieces of an artist that are too raw, too dangerous, or too fragile to show up unfiltered. Which brings me to Lisa. One of the more frequent critiques I've seen is, but we don't even know the real her. How can she have alter egos? And respectfully, that's not a valid critique of the concept. It's a reaction to poor execution. You don't need to be emotionally undressed in public before creating layered identities. If anything, alter egos often emerge because the artist isn't ready to show certain parts directly. That's the entire function. There are two main frameworks for alter egos. The mask, a persona totally separate from the artist. Think Sasha Fierce or Ziggy Stardust. These are theatrical tools for escape, transformation, or provocation. These personas create distance. They let the artist escape themselves or express what would be taboo in their real image. The mirror, a concentrated version of the artist's existing traits. Think Gaga's various personas or Donald Glover's Childish Gambino. They evolve with the artist. They reflect who they are becoming, not just who they are hiding. These alter egos aren't running from the self. They're running toward a fuller version of it. Take Marshall Bruce Mathers III, for example. His two alter egos, Eminem and Slim Shady, perfectly illustrate the difference between a mirror and a mask. Eminem is the mirror, a sharpened, more public-facing version of Marshall himself. Still grounded, still real, just turned up to 11. Slim Shady, on the other hand, is the mask, a wild, unfiltered character that let him say the things Marshall couldn't. One is amplification, the other is escape, and together they built one of the most compelling and chaotic alter ego systems in modern music. And Lisa? She was aiming for the mirror. She wasn't inventing fictional avatars. She was giving shape to sides of herself, the sweet, the precise, the mysterious. The idea was never the issue. The rollout was. She gave us 5 alter egos, but no voices, no interactions, no narratives, no sense of which side of Lisa each one held. You can't just say, this is Roxy, this is Kiki, this is Speedy, and expect people to feel invested. What does Roxy want? What does Speedy fear? What would Kiki say to Lisa if they were in a room alone? Without character, a concept is just clothing. And that's exactly how it felt. Photo shoots, 5 outfits, and vague description. But the potential? It's still there. She can still fix this. A YouTube video where she interviews herself. A scene where one alter ego interrupts another. Where they disagree, fight, or even protect one another. Give them interiority. Give them contrast. Give them voice. Because alter egos, when done right, aren't a gimmick. They're strategy, they're survival. A way to externalize pressure, to perform without collapsing, to express what feels too fragile to say as yourself. And Lisa, more than anyone, lives in contradiction. Sweet but sharp. Warm but distant. Controlled, yet chaotic in the best way. If I were designing the rollout for Lisa's alter egos, Sun Lisa, Moon Lisa, and Eclipse Lisa, I'd start with a short, cinematic concept film, around 5 to 7 minutes. No dialogue, just movement, music, and transitions between emotional states. It would be a visual journey through 3 distinct worlds that represent different sides of Lisa: warmth, control, and mystery. But that short film would just be the entry point. The real anchor to the concept would be a long-form interview special, inspired by Eminem's recent meta-conversation with Slim Shady. In it, Lisa would alternate between personas, maybe even interviewing herself, allowing each alter ego to comment, interrupt, or challenge the others. Somewhere between confession and performance, it would give depth to each side of her artistry while building a narrative arc. 30 to 45 minutes of clarity, chaos, and self-reflection. And if her team had done that, she wouldn't just have a concept, she'd have lore. In the West, intentionality equals authenticity. In K-pop, perfection is often the goal. In the West, it's intention. Fans don't need to know everything about an artist's personal life, but they want to feel that what they do see is real, deliberate, meaningful, and reflective of something deeper. It doesn't have to be raw or confessional. It just has to be curated with purpose. Take Lana Del Rey. She's a perfect example of someone who builds a world rather than just a brand. You may not know who she's dating, what her songs are literally about, or what her everyday life looks like, but you always feel like you're being let into something. Her storytelling and visuals craft a mythos. You sense her values, her pain, her glamour, her contradictions. She's not oversharing, she's world-building. Lisa doesn't need to crack open her diary. But when she sings about wealth, travel, jet-setting from LA to Abu Dhabi to Bangkok, the question is, what does it mean for her to live that life? Why does it matter that she, a Southeast Asian woman who was once overlooked and underestimated, now commands stages and headlines around the globe? What does her success symbolize? What is the ethos behind her flaunting? She doesn't have to justify her lifestyle, but she can frame it. She can show that her flex is not just for spectacle, but a celebration of hard-won autonomy. That she isn't just partying, she's rewriting the rules of who gets to live that loudly, that freely. And that matters. Because in a world that often tries to shrink women of color, especially non-Western ones, her presence in those spaces is a message. Her life is the story. All she has to do is make sure the visuals, lyrics, and branding tell it. If Lisa isn't ready to share personal stories, and that's perfectly fine, her public values become even more important. What does she stand for? What does she care about? She made a bold and beautiful move by spotlighting Thailand's wealthy LGBTQ+ scene in her music video. It was vibrant, celebratory, and subtly political. That's the kind of curated activism that resonates. It connects without oversharing. It sends a message without a speech. More of that, please. Because when intention replaces spectacle, that's when artistry feels real. And when people believe in your story, not just your sound, they stick around longer. Conclusion. Blueprint greater than vibes. I didn't make this video to hate. If anything, I made it because I care. Probably more than I should. You don't spend hours researching branding strategies, alter ego theory, and visual storytelling, unless a part of you really wants someone to win. And that's how I feel about Lisa. Even now, despite the missteps, I want her to win. And I maintain this. Lisa is one of the most hardworking and resilient idols in K-pop. From being the only Thai trainee selected out of thousands, to navigating xenophobia, to people constantly downplaying her talent, she has weathered it all and still rises. That level of perseverance deserves more than just admiration. It deserves proper support. But wanting someone to win means being willing to look at what's not working. I saw a lot of critiques about her solo rollout, but not many deep dives. So I made one, to show what went wrong, what could have been done better, and how Lisa can still build a legacy that lasts. That starts with world building, because when someone becomes a fan, they're not just consuming content, they're making a statement. Standing Lisa should feel like standing confidence, elegance, reinvention, and resilience. Her brand should reflect that. It should attract the global traveler, the creative powerhouse, the soft-spoken disruptor, the woman who works twice as hard to be seen half as clearly. It should feel like an anthem for people building their own lives on their own terms. That's the difference between being popular and being iconic. You don't just build a platform, you build an atmosphere, a tribe, a shared ethos. And the stronger that world is, the more fans begin to reflect it, quoting her lyrics, dressing like her, channeling her vibe. Not just because they like Lisa, but because they see themselves in what she represents. Now, I'm editing this after watching her Coachella stage, and I'll say, I'm relieved. That performance was the clearest articulation of her vision we've seen so far. It felt confident, cohesive, and exactly the kind of showcase I'd hoped for when I talked about Blackpink's solo branding in my last video. But next time, that clarity needs to be there from the beginning. A strong brand saves you from having to explain yourself later. It gives you structure, protection, breathing room. It means that when your big moment comes, Coachella, a solo comeback, a new campaign, you're not scrambling to prove you're versatile. You already have a story that supports you. And more importantly, it spares you from constantly living on the defensive, always reacting, always justifying. A solid brand doesn't beg people to see your value. It shows it from the jump. And her team? They have to do better. They're sitting on a global force and treating it like a side project. The rollout, the marketing, the branding, it all needs to be top tier. Even at Coachella, where was her signboard? Last year, Sabrina Carpenter's signboard alone sparked buzz before she even stepped on stage, and helped redefine her brand. It's a small detail, sure, but branding is built on those. Lisa's team also failed to properly build hype for her set. Yes, she's Lisa from Blackpink, and yes, the turnout was great. But relying on name recognition while making rookie mistakes is not a long-term strategy. And to those who say the alter ego concept wasn't imaginative, respectfully, no. Everything's been done before. Originality isn't about inventing the wheel, it's about spinning it your own way. Sabrina didn't invent flirty retro pop. Chappelle didn't invent camp. But they committed. And now people dress like them, sound like them, aspire to them. Lisa doesn't need to wait a decade to become iconic. She already has the talent. She already has the audience. What she needs now is the blueprint. And if this video gave even a piece of that, then it was worth it.